I'm still a little bit slow on that uptake of thinking that. So politics in the workplace. So here are some of the topics I want to talk about: general political talk, influence, employer influence related political issues, campaigning buttons, and then training. We already talked a little bit of training. I'm not going to repeat it all, but similar. We're going to talk a little on the civility training. All right. Oh, how'd that get there? Darn it. Don't worry, I'm going to have both sides. You know, I'm not going to just pick one side. Here's your other side so everybody else can feel better. I know some of you want to throw up and they want to go back to this one and then go that one. But here's the new one I liked. Trump related, top socket or bottom. Yep, that's about right. I think everybody's probably about right there. At least I know most people are that I talk about it. It's like we thought it was going to be this hot thing and topic, and it still is, by the way, because who doesn't get up about 4 a.m. and look to see what the president tweeted? I know I do, like daily. It's like, but there are people like my wife. She always appreciates when I use her. I mean, she watches CNN like all the time. She loves it, so she's up and down. No, that doesn't mean you know where she believes, but yes, we do have different opinions sometimes. But the reality is, I feel like we need a mental health counselor in this country right now. So I think the next president might be a mental health counselor because we're up and down all the time. And it's either you're here or you're here. You know, even on the other talk, Charlottesville, what side are you on? Now everybody knows I'm on the right side. The correct side, by the way. I'm just making sure everybody's clear on that. The correct side. Not the wrong side. But everybody is so ingrained now. And I'll tell you, one of the things that Terry talked about, and I talked about before about sex, is anybody a political commentator here? There are some newspapers where you might have some editorial people. I get it. But nobody is paid for their political opinions in most of your places. So why do we allow it? Well, because people want to chat and get to know each other. Right. So do you remember those rules? My favorite, I didn't put them here. My favorite rules when you're a kid, what do? You don't talk religion or politics. The problem is it's everywhere now. So as HR, here are some general rules. Now I'll tell you, this is for you personally as an HR professional, not as an organization. We can talk about whether or not we want to talk or not later. And we talked a little bit about that. But remember your role, because here's the thing. Just like everybody judges, if I said I'm a Trump supporter, probably 50% of the room would think I'm crazy. Maybe you think I'm a racist. I'm not a racist, by the way. I'm not crazy. We'll let the professionals deal with that one. Or if I said I was a Hillary supporter or a Democrat, what do you think? The other side, freeloading, maybe a criminal. Both sides probably think each other are criminal. They're all criminal. I'm sorry. But so the issue is, it's not like you say carrots or peas, or carrots or celery. I like both kind of. It's like one or the other. It's very clear. So understand, as an HR person, just like when I was talking about culture, about being approachable, if they think that you're on one side or the other, do they think, she's one of them? Or he's one of those? Okay? It's important to not have them feel that way. First of all, it's not appropriate for the workplace. It's culture again, remember? So don't forget your audience too. You're listening to those individuals. You're figuring out what's going on. Again, what I like to do is shift focus. Again, are they being paid? We have had this conversation so many times. Do you get paid for your religious beliefs? To tell sex jokes? To tell political jokes? To tell racial jokes? Does anybody have that? So then why aren't we doing that? People have a lot of downtime, right? So we have to start shifting them. Remember public and private. So HR, your perception is important. Why? Because if you're not approachable, they think you're one of those people, whichever those people are, whichever side those people are, you have a perception of whether you're going to be welcoming or not. Because frankly, it has nothing to do with your job. So you need to make sure you're staying neutral. You need to make sure you at least respect a person. Not just say, you're an idiot for thinking that, get out of here. I know you think that. I think that sometimes too. But the reality is that they have to trust you. They still have to work there, and you have to refocus them. Now, I will tell you, what this doesn't allow you to do is doesn't allow the individual to be discriminatory. First of all, political talk is not protected. We just established that. At the same time, do you want people to feel like you think they're stupid? No, you want them to feel good. You want them to feel efficient. You want them to work. You want them to be productive. So you can't just sit there and go, you're a real idiot, but you get back to your job. It won't work that way. So, but at the same time, discriminatory talk isn't okay. Just because the president said something, or Al Franken did something, or Roy Moore did something, doesn't mean it's okay for them to do it, or them to defend it on either side. There's a certain place. You also need to be more proactive. We are not proactive enough to say, hey, let's get back to work. Hey, you know what? Let's cut off the chatter and let's get back to what we need to be doing here. Okay? And then my favorite rule, the most important rule of all, stay away from genitalia discussions. Okay? Not okay on either side. It's not okay to talk about at work. Simple rule. Some people think we're more emboldened to have that conversation. Probably going the other way right now. Most people are going to be really, really silent because they're afraid to say anything, hopefully. And now we need to train people to talk again. All right. So, political role. Employers actually can have a political role. Very few do, but you can only persuade your executive, folks. There's actually a restricted class of executives. By the way, you can make your lawyers think about it, tell you about it. Those type of things you can actually promote as an employer. The rank and file people, no. I will just tell you as a general rule, very, very rare that I find companies that do this. Because frankly, introducing this stems different discussions. What are the political beliefs? Are they religious beliefs? Or are they non-religious beliefs? And where are you going to go with that, and what are you pushing on people? Because it can quickly become not just political, but religious. So it's another issue to be very cognizant of. The other thing is campaigning at work. Not okay. Just like we wouldn't want union campaigning at work, political campaigning is not okay as well if you have a policy on solicitation. That's why you have one of those. So for example, if they're using their emails to conduct political activity, there's actually some laws on that require, that you don't want to be caught up that the company is actually promoting that. Same with social media and whatnot. That doesn't mean they can't have it. They can work politically off duty time. That's fine. Just don't bring it here. Don't have all those emails sent to me. Use a Gmail account. It's pretty simple. All right, but what about internet access? Let's say they access the Gmail account from your work. Again, it depends on what your email policy is. If you allow them to use it for personal good, but it depends on how long they're there. And others, you might have wage and hour issues as well. All right. Anybody gone to a convention or seen a convention? They're always fun. They always have flair, kind of like Office Space. How much flair can you put on? Do you have your 37 required? These folks do. Okay, by the way, I actually know this guy, Jim. He souped up his truck for that. It's unbelievable. These are not my personal pictures, by the way, just so you know. Most are from the internet. Don't worry. Oh, wait. Oh, they're both parties, by the way. I went out and made sure I had all the different parties. I'm sorry, I don't have any green party, though. Jill Stein will have to wait on that one. But here's the thing. You can prohibit campaign material, like they're wearing buttons. Just like you would prevent other things like that. Partly because the job related. I mean, if you're a salesperson, you're wearing Hillary for president. Whether or not you agree or not, the reality is that might turn off your client or your customer. It's not appropriate for the workplace. Again, we're taking things we're taking things that are not work related and removing them from the workplace. Buttons, hats, make America great. Can't wear that out when you're doing sales for us. Why? Because it's not professional. It's not what we want to have. It's not the image we're looking for. It's not the brand that you're trying to portray. Unless you're just selling political t-shirts. Then you can wear them all, and then you can all do that. But the reality is you can ban all those things. However, for the unions, they are allowed to have union displayed insignias. And they've actually allowed a Teamsters for Obama one. I will tell you, I would imagine the new NLRB might have a different opinion. And for any of you that deal with the NLRB, most of you probably hopefully have not had to. It really just basically goes back and forth like a yo-yo, but depending upon which administration's there. So we can have the exact same case changed the next administration. So a lot of these types of things will go back and forth. All right, time off to vote. Most of this is not an issue for Iowa. You're allowed, there's actually a voting law in Iowa. You have to have 3 consecutive hours. Most of the polls are open until 9. Therefore, as long as they don't work till past 6, they're fine, and you don't have to let them have time off to vote. If you want to let them have time off, you can obviously let them have time off. But there's not a requirement unless they don't have that 3-hour consecutive time period during the voting hours. So for sometimes depending upon the voting times. We already talked about that. Civility training. Again, we're talking about this as how do you have a civil discussion? How do you create the respect for each other that you can have a discussion? The political part of this is a little more dangerous because whether you want to actually invite the political discussion or not is a topic that you have to think about seriously. But here's the reality. Can anybody not talk about what's going on in the news like for the last, I don't know, since 2016? Like it seems like every day. I'm tiring almost, right? I want a break. I want to turn the TV off and not ever have to, or don't ever go to Twitter, by the way. Oh Lord. It's angry. It's fun. But the reality is it's permeating your workforce. It's being brought into the workforce. You know, my wife literally every day when we talk, I have a set time when I call her every day, so I make sure, because otherwise she'll call me every hour, who knows. And I say, you know, and her first thing out is, did you see what he did today? And I go, not yet, but tell me. So you remember I was listening? I'm not listening, not judging, because otherwise we're going to have a real discussion. I don't want that. And she tells me, oh, he said this. Can you believe he said this about Al Frankenstein, or blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's today, by the way. That's right. I'm up on it. See, that was this morning. Yeah. But seriously, so it is literally, so everybody at work's thinking about it. To see what he said today, It's okay that things happen as long as everybody respects it. The problem is what we've done now, it's kind of like, what was the one, my favorite one up here? Oh, I didn't bring it with me. There was actually a meme that says, when you find out your coworker is really a Trump supporter, your reaction. And the same thing goes when you find out your coworker's a Hillary supporter, your reaction. The same thing happens, that we have to be able to create that civility between people that can respect the fact that we do disagree and that we're not here to discuss that. And until we establish that, they'll continue to discuss it. And a lot of times we just don't want to get involved, right? It was one of those things, what we used to, in HR, if I don't hear it, I don't have to deal with it, right? You know, never ask an open-ended question. Holy heck, you don't want that. You want very specific questions so you don't get I don't want to hear about anything. Well, if we're going to really create culture changes where we have a positive working environment, we're going to have to open up and hear what's happening. Unfortunately for a lot of us, we might not be always happy with what we hear. Some of us might be happy. Oh, I thought it was going to be a lot worse. Whew. For those that are pessimists, oh, I thought it was going to be the worst thing in the world. Right? Perfect. But it's a real opportunity to make sure, because what all of these topics have to do with is how do you create the right type of working environment that you want from a legal perspective to avoid liability. You don't want to be sued. We don't have to pay much money. From a public relations, you don't want to be the next company. Do you want to be the next company? There's actually discussions now about branding problems when white supremacists are tied to a brand. It's like they like this kind of pizza, therefore like they must be white supremacists. No, they like that kind of pizza. So we have to start thinking about how do we create an environment that's beyond those issues. And then also, what's the best way to make our employees work? That's what it comes down to. How can we make them more efficient? They're arguing about whether or not the tax cut bill is going to benefit the middle class for 2 hours today. Are they getting their work done? Right? How do we refocus that? Okay? And those are some of the sessions. thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions, we'll be answering them later.